Let's pray. I know we prayed a couple of times, but let's pray one more time. Father, we're here one more time to talk about you. But before we open the Bible and start talking, we want to ask you to bless us, to open our minds to understand what you have to say. We know it's a class project, it's a class assignment. But when we understand when we open the Bible, you talk to us. So talk to us this afternoon and make us learn lessons from this passage this afternoon. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen. So I grew up in a farm. I was little, I was in Mexico, so we go to the farm. In the farm we had cows, horses, chickens, and all the stuff we had there. So we have cows, bulls. And I don't know if you guys understand a bull. When the bull's in the field and you're walking around the bull, if the bull follows you, what you do? What you do? You run. Because if the bull's behind you, what you have to do, you run away. Because you don't want the bulls to get you in the back and hit you with a horn because you'll be in trouble. So it's starting in life where you have to run because you have to run. You don't have a choice. You have to run. And these other cases when I was little and I do something back in school, and I know I did something wrong, and then I know that my mom and my dad already knew what I did. Sometimes I don't want to go home because I know if I go home, it's going to be a what? It's going to be a consequences of what I did. So that caused me to don't go home because I was scared. I know that I'm going to have consequences of what I did. And also, I want to tell you something about sometimes we run away because we don't have no options. I had a friend we used to work with me. I was a senior project manager at the company. He was one of my superintendents. And I noticed that every afternoon after we finished work, after work, he always invited me to go to watch the game, either baseball, football, wherever it was. He always invited me to go to the games, go to the pool, play pool, let's go to have a coffee, let's go have a soup. And that's kind of every time that he comes to me and talks to me about that and invite me and say, what's wrong with you? I want to go home and be relaxed, be with my wife, be with my daughter, so I want to be calm. Why you don't go and do the same thing? He said, well, man, if I go home, it's going to be a hell. It's a hell. I can't stay home. It's a miserable. So I had to run away and be everywhere else till midnight. That way I either just go to sleep, wake up in the morning, come to work. I cannot be there. So sometimes in life we run away for different consequences or circumstances that I say better. And that's the case of the story we're going to read today. The story that we assigned is Genesis chapter 16. It is interesting because I've been reading that story for many years, and it wasn't until now that I understand something that I wasn't understanding before. But before we get to the story of Genesis 16, we have to understand what happened when we get to there. In Genesis chapter 12, the Lord, verse 2, the Lord told, I will make you into a great nation and I will bless you. That was a promise that God told Abraham that's going to happen. Not Abraham, because that's the name before, but Abraham was a name before God's changed his name. So God was telling him a promise that He's going to bless him, He's going to make a great nation. That's in chapter 12. So we go back to chapter 15, and the Lord told them one more time. Then the word of the Lord coming to him. This man will not be Jew. Well, he was talking about the slave that he had in the verse 3. So in verse 4, then the word of the Lord coming to him, his man will not be Jew here, but a son who is Jew own flesh and blood will Jew here. So he took him outside and said, look up the sky and count the stars, he ended, you can come then he said to him, so short your offering gonna be. So the Lord promised then a child from their own flesh, but as time passes, nothing happened. And that's what we come into the verse 16, and we're going to find the story, and we're going to talk about this afternoon, a little sermon with a title, what are you running from? What are you running from? So the story in chapter 16, they start this way. I invite you guys to read. Abraham's wife Sarai had born him children. So let me read from my iPad. I think I can see it better. Let's start again. Now Sarai, Abraham's wife, had born him no children, but she had an Egyptian slave named Hagar. So she said to Abraham, "The Lord has kept me from having children. Go sleep with my slave. Perhaps I can build a family to her." Abraham agreed to what Sarai said. So after Abraham had been living in Canaan 10 years, Sarai, his wife, took her Egyptian slave Hagar and gave her to her husband to be his wife. He slept with Hagar and she conceived. When she knew that she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. Then Sarai said to Abraham, "You are responsible for the wrong I am suffering. I put my slave into arms, and not that she knows she's pregnant, she despises me. May the Lord judge between you and me. Your slave is in your hands." Abraham said, Do we hear whatever you think is best." Then Sarai mistreated Hagar, so she fled from her. We got some points to reflect in this afternoon here. First thing, Abraham agreed to what Sarai said. Abraham agreed to what Sarai said. So that's one of the points what we get this afternoon is point number one is don't run away from your calling. Don't run away from your responsibilities. Abraham has a responsibility to be the man of the house, to support the family, and to stand up to the promise that God gave to him. So God tell him what he's going to be, what he's going to do with him, what the plans was for him. But the time passing, and I think that's this waiting time is kind of making him thinking about he can find their own solution for this problem. Or at least Sarah thinks she find the solution and say, okay, we can now have a child. The promise is there. I know that God tells you that's going to happen, but it's not happening. So let's do something. And she decided to take Hagar as a wife for Abraham, and that way they can have a child. Back at the time, it was normal to do that. If we read the Bible and the Exodus, and back at the time, it was normal to do that with a slave. If the couple was not able to have a child, so they can grow a woman's slave, and then they can have a child and family through that slave, through that person. But in this case, it's different. It's different because God was telling him, Abraham, what's going to happen before. So he ran away from the responsibility and say, okay, if you say I do it. How many times we find that same circumstances? We have to face our responsibilities and say, instead of to stand up and face it, we run away. Sometimes we had an assignment in the class, we had to do it, but because we were not ready, I decided not to go to class. Am I talking to somebody? Sometimes we had to go to work and we had to assignment to do, but because that day I don't feel that good, or I want to work with a person that I don't like much, but that manager that day is not the manager I like, so I say, hey, I'm sick. We decide to run away from responsibility. I just tell a couple of small things, but what's about other compromises in life? If we're going to be faithful to the Lord in the small things, we're going to be faithful to the Lord in the biggest things. So we have to learn to be faithful and stand out for our responsibility in the small things. And it's a process of every moment, every day. It's a process that we have to stand up and learn how to be faithful and don't run away from our responsibilities. Abraham had to stand up and say, no, we're going to keep waiting. Can you imagine how much trouble he would save if he stood up in that moment? If you read the story, if you follow the story, you're going to see all the mess around he make it out because that decision, because he's still able to stand up what the Lord said up. He added so many chapters to his life just because one decision, just because he decided to stand up. But also we got the second point, and I want to make you think about it. Don't run from consequences. Sarai tell Abraham, go sleep with the slave with Hagar. Here it is, take it. But we go to verse 6 and 5 and 6. If you read verse 5 and 6 in person to see, she came to Abraham and said, you're responsible for the wrong that I'm suffering. That Abraham was responsible. Who tell Abraham to take the slave? Who tell him to do it? So now she came to Abraham and said, oh, make a judgment between me and her. Who was responsible for that? We have to be responsible for our decisions. Consequences, we have to learn to don't run from the consequences that we have. About 3 years ago, my dad called me and said, hey, we had a little problem here in the house. My dad is divorced from my mom, so he is a third wife that he had in that moment. And he said, my brother was 15 years old, so we had a problem with your brother. I said, what happened? He was dating a little girl and now she's pregnant. What are we going to do? I said, I don't know what you're going to do, but I know what he had to do. I called him and I said, Joyer, you have to be responsible for your consequences. You have to face the consequences. Don't run away. He was telling me that the girl wants to, well, I don't want to say the word, abort the little child. And he said, she told me if I say yes, we have decided to have it, we're going to have it. And I said, what are you going to do? I said, we're going to have it. Now he's 18 years old. He got a full-time job and he went to culinary school because he wanted to be a chef. So don't run away from the consequences of your decision. Face it. Face every consequences. I know that you do a couple of bad things and then you make a bad calls, and sometimes it's easy to run away, it's easy to do all the things, but we have to face every consequences. And then I want to read the story because the story didn't end there. Verse 7. Actually, at the end of the verse 6, we find something interesting. I think that's going to be the main point of what I want to talk about this afternoon. Verse 6 ending, Hagar, so she fled from her. Hagar run away. Point number 3, mistreat, make you run. Mistreat, make you run. In that verse 6, we find out the angel of the Lord found Hagar near to the spring of the desert. It was the spring that is beside the road of Sur. And she said, Hagar, the slave of Sarai, where haven't you coming from and where you going? I'm running away from my street, Sarai, she answered. Without we find Hagar because she ran away from the house because she was mistreated. She was being bullied. I can't even imagine what's happening in that house because the women of the house, which Sarah can handle a baby, and now the slave had a baby. How do we see somebody when somebody has something that you can own it? How do you feel it? How do you feel with somebody being called when you think you should be called, but instead of you is somebody else? How do you feeling? What you do? How do you react? So Sarah is trying to react it different ways. So they mistreat this little person, which is not responsible. She don't have no rights to do it. She don't understand what's going on because who put in her situation was Sarah. She was responsible, but now she mistreated, so she had to run away. But that's the blessing things that we can find in the Bible is no matter how much we run, the angel of the Lord always there to find us. Where you coming from? Where you going? That's not the same question that God asked Adam. Where are you? That's not the same question that God asked Cain. Where's your brother? Where are you? Where you running from? What make you run? But the answer of Hagar made me think. Because she don't find excuses. She don't find arguments. She said, I'm running away. I'm running away. Do you guys think that the Lord didn't know what she was doing? Do you think that the Lord didn't know what's happened with her in the past? Sure, the Lord knows you. The Lord knows her. He created you. He knows you perfectly. But when the Lord asks you, where are you? That's not because He don't know where you're coming from, where you are. It's because He wants you to recognize what you are. Because from that moment to the past, that's you. That's your decision. For this moment on, that's in God. He don't ask you because He don't know. He don't ask you because He wants you to know where you are. Where you coming from. Because whatever He's going to take you from now on, that's in God. So, that's interesting, the conversation that they had there is say, I'm running away from my sister. Verse 9, then the angel of the Lord told her, go back to your mistress and submit to her. What? What you say now, Lord? I tell you that I'm running because they treat me wrong. Sometimes you're going to be a pastor. You prepare to be a pastor. And you're going to be into the church excited because you got a calling. Now you're going to have a church. You're going to come in with a nice plan and hands. And you put it to the meeting board. Say, hey, this is what I want to do with the church. And they're going to say, hey, no, that's not your plans. We got our own plans. You're going to be moments that you're going to be running away. And the Lord is going to have to tell you the same thing to tell her. Go back. Go back. And work with them. Try to find a different plan. Try to find a different option. But go back and work with them. Maybe you're running from home because the home was a miserable. It's a lot of things happening in the house. And they say, no way, I get out of this house. And I got to school. I've been in college for 4 years. I forgot this of this house. I don't have to come back. But the Lord tells you, hey, you have to come back and talk to your parents and solve the problem. Be your friend. Be your friends. They have to be your friends. Because everything they did is for your own best. And nobody else wants something better than them. Maybe somebody's married here and they was running from the house because it's a mess like my friend. We had to go and talk to that wife, the angry wife. We had to talk to her. We had to love her. Go back to the house. The Lord told her, go back. Go back. That's not easy, my friends, but I want to see that verse 11 say, the angel of the Lord also said to her, you are now pregnant. But verse 10. The angel added, I will increase your descendants so much that there will be none too numerous to count. The angel of the Lord also said to her, you are now pregnant, you will give her a son. You should name him Ishmael. Ishmael, his name in Hebrew, means God hears. So now we got heirs, because the Lord told me that her here to listen what he had to say, and he said you have to go back. But now you don't have to go back alone. You have to go back with a hope, because the Lord told him what's going to happen. I will increase your descendants. I will give you something. So the Lord gave you a promise. Now she is able to go back with a hope in her heart. She's going to clean the floor. She's going to hear the same thing maybe. But now she had a hope. She had Ishmael. Now she has Ishmael, which means God hears. God hears her. And now she healed her. That's the reason she was able to come back to Abraham's house. Family, I don't see the time, but I can keep going, but I want to finish here and say, what did make you run? Why you running from? Why you fear? Where you planning to going? But you don't be able to go nowhere till you face and you meet with the angel of the Lord. Till then, you don't be able to go nowhere. Because all the decisions you make it till now, you make it from your own. But from now on, the Lord has to make the decision for us and help us to face what we make it wrong. Till then, we don't be able to do nothing else. You want to stop running? You want to start running? It's necessary to have to meet face to face with the Lord. That's the only way you will start running. From now on, you're going to be happy. You're going to be able to face every decision that you make it out of your life. May the God bless you.
Amen.